12 years ago, on the eve of what should have been my happiest day, everything crumbled. I stood frozen outside a hotel room, heart pounding inside my chest. Dressed in a tuxedo I had rented for my wedding, my phone buzzed in my clammy hand, lighting up with a single message that would alter my life forever. Thanks for last night, babe. I can't stop thinking about you. Don't worry, he'll never find out. The message was from my brother, and it was addressed to my fiancée, Rachel, the woman I had spent 6 years loving, protecting, and building my future with. I stared at the screen, reading those words over and over, willing them to mean something else. But the truth sat there, mocking me. My fiancée had slept with my brother the night before our wedding. I never knocked on that door. I didn't confront them. I turned around and walked away from everything. I left a simple handwritten note at the altar and vanished. Most people assumed I had suffered a breakdown. Maybe I had, but in reality, I was quietly rebuilding, stone by stone, scar by scar. Ruthless, focused. Now, 12 years later, I stood in my new home, overlooking the calm waters of the lakefront property I had bought with my own hard-earned success. Once bankrupt, I had risen to become one of the youngest and most successful real estate developers in the state. My life had transformed completely. That's when my phone lit up again. A message from a name I hadn't seen in over a decade. Can we talk? Please. Just once. Rachel. What she didn't know was that in those 12 years, I hadn't just rebuilt my life. I had also been planning for this exact moment. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I sat still, reading her words with no rush. There was no heartbreak, no longing, only calculation. Rachel only ever reached out when it served her. That message wasn't about regret. It was bait, and I decided to bite, just not the way she hoped. My reply was short, let's meet for coffee. Saturday, noon, Sorrento's on East. Saturday came. I arrived early, choosing a table by the window where the sunlight framed the scene perfectly. My suit was tailored, elegant but understated. Success written in every detail. She arrived 5 minutes late, wearing a forced smile that vanished the moment she saw I didn't stand to greet her. I simply stared. Rachel looked older. The years had left their mark. Stress clinging to her features, makeup trying to cover what time refused to hide. She sat opposite me, acting as though we were simply two old friends reconnecting. "Thank you for meeting me," she began softly. I wasn't sure you'd reply. I took a sip of coffee, keeping my gaze steady. I almost didn't. She fidgeted, her eyes searching for a softness she wouldn't find. "I saw your name in an article about your company. I realized how badly I messed everything up." There it was, her first move. Nostalgia mixed with pity. "Did you come to apologize?" I asked, my voice calm. "Or just to see what you lost?" Her face twitched. "That's not fair." "No," I replied, "but it's true." She leaned in, lowering her voice. "I was drunk that night, angry at you for working late all week. Aaron, he was there. It was stupid. One night. I've paid for it ever since." I nodded. "You did make a mistake, but not just that night." Her brows knitted. "What do you mean?" "The real mistake was believing you'd get away with it." She stiffened. "What?" I smiled slightly, as if dismissing my own words. "Nothing." Her eyes darted nervously. Then I delivered the real blow. "I'm getting married next week." Her composure cracked for the first time. That was the wound she hadn't prepared for. "To someone who knows how to love without betrayal," I added. "Someone who never once looked at my brother that way." Rachel forced a tight smile. "Well, congratulations." "That's wonderful." But her voice trembled beneath her mask. She wasn't here to apologize. She was here because she was alone. She reached across the table, touching my hand. "I know you probably hate me, but maybe we can stay in touch." I leaned back. "Of course," I said coolly. "Let's stay in touch." Because I had just finalized a perfect plan, and she was about to play her part. Later that afternoon, I messaged my fiancée, Leah. I told her only that Rachel had reached out, and I had met her. Leah's response was steady. "Do what you need to do. Just don't let her anywhere near our life. That was the difference. Leah loved with both hands. Rachel treated love like currency. I texted Rachel again that night. I've been thinking about our conversation. I want to be open-minded. My wedding is at Willow Hollow Gardens next weekend. You should come. Might be good for both of us. She replied almost instantly. Wow, I didn't expect that. Thank you. Perfect. But the real game was about to begin. Next, I reached out to Aaron, my brother. We hadn't spoken since that night 12 years ago, but I still had one of his old email addresses. Using a burner account, I sent him a simple message. You might want to talk to Rachel. She's about to embarrass herself at a wedding next Saturday. I keep her under control unless you want to be part of the fallout. An hour later, Rachel sent me frantic screenshots of Aaron messaging her in a panic. She vented. He always thinks I'm going to ruin everything. I played innocent. That's unfortunate. Still, if you want to come, you're welcome. It should be a beautiful day. Behind the scenes, I made a call to the event coordinator at Willow Hollow. A discreet addition was arranged for every table. A small envelope containing a simple card with a QR code. Nothing flashy, just waiting quietly to be opened. Inside the code was everything. The text messages, timestamp photos, and a voicemail Rachel had left me the morning after her betrayal, slurring. Please don't hate me. It was a mistake. Aaron means nothing. 12 years of silence were about to end. The morning of my wedding arrived under clear skies. The garden was immaculate, flowers blooming in perfect rows, soft music drifting through the breeze. As I stood by the altar, my best friend Daniel by my side, a man who had earned that place through loyalty and integrity, I scanned the arriving guests. Then I saw her, Rachel, standing alone in a pale blue dress, forcing a smile as if she still belonged. Aaron was nowhere in sight. The ceremony proceeded flawlessly. Leah looked radiant. Every step down the aisle filled with grace. She had no idea how much this day meant to me, not only as a new beginning, but as a final chapter closing. After the ceremony, we moved to the reception. Guests mingled, laughter filled the air, champagne flowed. And then, around 7:30 p.m., it began. A subtle ripple passed through the room. Quiet whispers, heads tilting toward their phones. Someone had scanned the code. Then another. Then more. The murmur spread like wildfire. Is this real? That's Rachel, from the night before their first wedding. Oh my God! Rachel's face paled as the realization sank in. Her smile vanished. She noticed the stares. Her sister approached, clutching one of the cards. Did you know this would happen? She hissed. Rachel fumbled, pulling out her phone to scan the code herself. As the footage played, her entire body seemed to stiffen and shrink. Her mouth fell open in shock. Who? Who did this? She whispered. I stayed silent. I didn't need to answer. The truth was on every screen, undeniable, eternal. Finally, she stood, trembling, trying to gather the pieces of her shattered dignity. I need to go, she murmured, mostly to herself. As she turned, I spoke for the first time. Rachel. She stopped, turning slowly. The entire room fell silent, eyes on us. Thank you for coming. Closure's important. She stared at me one final time, lips quivering, eyes wide and hollow. Then she fled. The following morning, my phone lit up with dozens of messages. All from Rachel. Why would you do this? You destroyed me. My family was there. My boss saw it. You're a monster. I didn't respond. Because monsters hide. What I had done was simply justice. Later that day, Daniel called, half laughing. Bro, Aaron's company is falling apart. Apparently, Rachel was on the payroll. After that video went viral, the board forced him to resign. Turns out Aaron and Rachel had quietly rekindled their toxic relationship years after the original betrayal. But now their private poison was public knowledge. And shareholders don't forgive scandals. By week's end, Rachel sent me one final message. Not angry, just broken. You win. I don't even know who I am anymore. Was it worth it? This time, I replied, it was never about winning. It was about healing. And you helped. Simple. Honest. Nothing more needed to be said. Leah and I left for Italy the next day, sitting on a terrace in Florence, sipping wine. She glanced at me and smiled. You seem lighter. I returned her smile. I buried a ghost. She reached for my hand. To the future. To the future, I whispered as we toasted. To love that doesn't deceive, loyalty that never wavers, and revenge that speaks without ever raising its voice.